kids. All right, so today I've kind of scaled back a little bit on our figurative language because I saw that lots of you were having some issues, particularly with idioms and imagery. Um, and so we're going to do some practice with idioms today, as well as similes, metaphors, hyperboles, and personification. Um, the video below this one, you're going to see a review, a complete review of idioms and imagery, and I'm going to give you a lot of examples. So I would really hardcore suggest that you watch that video before you complete this assignment, okay? Because that's going to really delve into and give you lots of examples, and there's no assignment associated with that video. So this video is just going over the assignment and similes, metaphors, hyperboles, and personification. Okay, so this assignment, you're going to read each little sentence, and then you're going to identify the type of figurative language used and explain what you think it means. I've done several of these for you, so you're really only going to have to do 7 of them. I've done, I think, 3 of them for you. So I'm giving you a lot of help and support with this assignment. So for the first one, what you'll do is you'll read this sentence. It says, a horse, my kingdom for a horse. You have to identify what technique is being used. And so obviously, if you need a horse, you're not going to really give up your whole kingdom like if you're a king. So obviously this is an exaggeration of some kind. So that means if it's an exaggeration, that means it's hyperbole. So then the next step is, what do you think this means? So you have to think, okay, well, if you are a king and you are saying you'll give up everything that you have for a horse, well, obviously this is an exaggeration, but it means that he just wants a horse really, really badly, right? That would be like saying, I'm so hungry, I would cut off my left leg for some KFC, right? You're exaggerating to prove how hungry you are in that situation. It's the same thing is going on here. So that's number 1 as an example. Number 2, I also did for you as an example. Now this has 2 techniques. All the other ones don't have 2 techniques in them. This is really the only one, which is why I did this one for you. So here our sentence says, they have watered the street. It shines in the glare of lamps, cold white lamps, and lies like a slow moving river. Okay, so there are 2 techniques. The first one is personification, because lamps, they don't have eyes, they can't glare. And then you also have a comparison between 2 things. You have water on the street being compared to a slow moving river. And we have the word like in there, so we know when we have a comparison between 2 things that use like or as, we know that that's a simile. So then what do we think this means? Well, if a lamp is quote unquote glaring at you, think about what a glare is. It's this intense look, right? And so if we're thinking a lamp and the light of the lamp is glaring, that means it's probably a really, really intense light. Like it almost hurts your eyes. It's so bright. Then we have the simile. If we're comparing the water flowing down the street to a slow moving river, that means it's probably just like kind of winding and it's moving very slowly. So it's not like rushing and gushing like a waterfall would be. So it's just kind of trickling almost down the street. Okay. Um, so number 4, I identified it for you. And I told you that it's a metaphor. Now, you have to decide what you think it means. So I'll kind of break it down for you. The sentence says, life is a stream on which we strew, petal by petal, the flower of our heart. So we have 4 things actually being compared here. We have life being compared to a stream. So why do you think we would compare life, which is always moving forward, to a stream that flows forward, right? So think about why we would compare those 2 things. And then we have a flower, um, the petals of our heart being thrown out onto the stream of life. So why would we compare our heart to a flower that has its petals being pulled apart? Um, so think about, like, you might have, when you were a kid, plucked the flowers, the petals off of a flower, right? And you've probably threw them into the wind, right? Why would we compare our heart to a flower whose petals have been plucked and thrown away? Okay, so think about those two comparisons and write your answer down at the bottom. Okay, number 4, the daisy hugging the earth in August. Ha! So what technique is being used? I gave you the technique. It's personification. We have something that's non-human, which is a daisy, doing something that is human, which is hugging, right? So, what do you think that means? If the daisy is hugging the earth, when you hug someone, you're very close to them, you're pressed against them. So, in what way is the daisy performing this action? So, what do you think that means? Write it down below. Number Um, so we have two things, but they're the same technique being used here. It says a treasurer of immortal days, I roam the glorious world giving endless praise. So we've got some very specific words here. We've got the word immortal, and then we have the word endless. So think about, are there things in this world that are immortal? Are there things that are endless? Our days, are our lives, are our days completely immortal, meaning that we cannot die? And can you go throughout the world endlessly, meaning without end, praising something? So which technique do you think this matches? Is it a simile, a metaphor, hyperbole, personification, and idiom? And then tell me, what do you think the author means by describing days as immortal and praise as endless? Okay, so that's number 6. Number 7, it says, the river curling softly by whispers and dimples round its quiet gray stones. So we have a river being described as having whispers and dimples. So think about, if you've seen a river or pictures of a river, in what way might a river whisper or have little dimples? So remember, dimples are those little indentations on the sides of your face when you smile. So which technique does this match? A simile, a metaphor, a hyperbole, personification, or an idiom? And what do you think this means when they're describing the river as whispering and having dimples? So that's number 7. Number 8, uh, it says, after getting my report card, I knew it was time to hit the books. So what technique is being used? So obviously, we don't actually punch books, right? Um, so here we can probably say that, and I've given you the hint that it's not a simile, it's not a metaphor. So it's either hyperbole, personification, or an idiom. So remember, hyperbole is an exaggeration. Personification is giving a human characteristic to something that's non-human. And an idiom is like a phrase that doesn't really make sense when you say it, but most people know what it means. So think about, what do you think it means when it says, I knew it was time to hit the books? So number 10, it said, or number 9, sorry, the earth is the cup of the sun that fills at morning. So what technique do you think is being used? To me, it sounds like they're comparing earth to um, a, a cup of sunlight, almost a cup of sunlight, right? That is filled, this cup is filled with the light of the sun at morning time. So we have a comparison here, so that probably means that it's a simile or a metaphor. Now I want you to tell me, what do you think it means? What does this comparison mean if we're comparing earth to the sun? So that's number 9. This is number 10. I should have done homework and studied instead, but I got up on the wrong side of the bed. So, what technique is being used here, and what do you think that means? So, I'll give you a little hint. Again, it's not a simile, it's not a metaphor. So, your options are hyperbole, personification, or idiom. So, think about what that phrase means when you say get up on the wrong side of the bed. Um, what do you think that means when someone says that? It's something that you might have heard before in your life at some point. Okay. So think about what do you think that means? So there was one that I didn't get to go over before, and I apologize for skipping it. It was number 5. So it says, "Don't worry about Alex. She's all bark and no bite." So this is an example of an idiom. So remember, an idiom is a phrase that really doesn't make a whole lot of sense when we say it out loud and when we think about it. Um, but it's something that we as a society have decided means something. So it's just kind of like a turn of phrase, like an old saying almost. So what do we think this means? Well, when we say that Alex, in this case, she's probably a person or maybe a dog. Um, when something is barking, right, it's really, really loud. And it gives you the impression that the person is aggressive and might harm you. But then the phrase goes on to say she's all bark and no bite, meaning that there's no harm that's going to come to you. So it means that this person is very, very loud, and they might yell, they might scream, they might curse, but they're not really going to actually harm you in any way, right? So again, it's a phrase that has meaning to us as a culture, as a society, but in general doesn't make sense when we actually think about it. Okay, so if you guys need any help with this assignment, please reach out to me, email me, message me, and let me know. And remember to watch the video down below to review idioms as well as um, any of the other major um, figurative language that you guys indicated on Friday's voting. Okay, so I hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday. Thanks for listening. Bye.